the Primitive Patterns Podcast. It's time to live your mystery. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Primitive Patterns Podcast. How are we doing today, boys?
Doing great. You guys are twinning out today, big time.
Oh yeah, we are twinning out and I'm doing great. I caught maybe the best wave of my life this morning. And Coach Crouton, our surf coach, been giving me a few tips, been telling me a few things to work on, one of which being a cutback on the wave. And I wish he saw this one because I hit two of them and it felt great. I had a bit of an audience, mom and dad on shore, pistol on shore. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good. Nice. Well, yeah, we did say we'd do a little surf update. I think that's pretty much it. I'll give Josh the top spot for the week right now. That was just the best wave of the trip so far. I'm probably close second and Luke is still bottom of the barrel, but hey, he's getting better too.
I'm fine with bottom of the barrel. I'm improving at a slower rate. I find anything to do in the physical domain, I just lack behind you guys a little bit, but that's all right. I'm doing my best.
Listen to that. Eh? I know. He's actually admitting that.
Well, with like surf or guitar, or like any of these like skill-based things, you guys just pick them up more naturally than I do.
If we're talking like brute force, get her done.
I'll beat you any day.
You're right. Yeah, you're right there with us for sure. You might be head honcho, but if it comes down to dexterity, motor skills, fine motor skills, me and Jaker might have you a bit. But hey, everybody's got their strengths. Right. So we'll leave it. We'll leave the surf update at that with Luke admitting that we're above him right now. So we'll leave it there. But one more thing I kind of pumped my tires there, but it is a massive swell coming in this week. This was our first surf session. So by no means are we saying we're truly getting the real feel, because the waves have been massive and we've been on shore watching and we haven't been out there too much. So I will say that as well.
Spectator sport.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, Luker, you kind of had a little bit of an idea as to where you wanted to go with this podcast today. So I'll let you kind of kick it off here and what's going on?
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk with you guys because we're young dudes, and in the past year, you two have had your first high-dose psychedelic experience. You've done it twice now in the past 9 months. And long story short, we met a guy named PJ, absolute legend. He trained under a few people facilitating something called the Heart Protocol. After speaking with him, I thought, wow, this would be a pretty cool thing to do with my brothers. We did it once as brothers together, and then we actually did it with my brothers and my parents all together. And I think I can say for myself, undoubtedly, it's made my life a lot better. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to talk. I'll start with you, Josh. Like, for the first time in your life, having done like a guided, dosed, proper psychedelic experience, what would you say are like the main things that you've got from it, and where it's, I don't know, just what it's allowed you to feel and what it's allowed you to let go of? Just give me a synopsis of like how you feel it's improved your life. Yeah.
Well, I would start it off by saying I feel like I'm pretty lucky. I think Jake is in the same boat as me. We've spoken about this before, especially since the Heart Protocols, where we're pretty lucky in the sense of everybody has their bad days. Everybody goes through their things that they go through and their challenges, but we're lucky in the sense that we don't battle too much mental health battles on like a daily basis or even like a monthly basis. We're lucky from that standpoint. Why that is, I'm not sure, but we are pretty lucky there. So I will say that something like this Heart Protocol, I've gotten so much out of it. I would go as far to say is that it's changed my life. But I also don't think that you necessarily need to be going through something major in terms of something that you're trying to let go of, something that you're deeply trying to work on. Like you feel the need to, whether it's fill a void or figure some things out mentally. Obviously it can be beneficial for people in that standpoint too. I think you'd probably be the guy to expand on that a little bit more.
But I just want to know like your experience more than
my experience both times has been amazing. The main thing that it's brought into my life is a sense of, I mentioned this to you on the beach the other day, a sense of lightness. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I feel lighter within myself. Internally, I feel lighter. And it's also reminded me of the core things that I value in my life and what truly matters to me. It's brought that to the forefront of my awareness. And I've heard you speak about this before, where intellectually, it's easy to understand what's important to you, whether it's family, your job, your relationships, whatever. But it has brought those things, especially my connection to myself and my family, to the forefront of my awareness more than I think anything could, at least anything up to this date that I've personally experienced. And I think getting that reminder in the way that it gives it to you can be so beneficial, can be so life-changing. And it's really tough to put it into words. We've also spoken about that, how words can dilute the experience. So it's tough to describe it in that sense. But if I were to, I would say it's brought lightness into my life, and it's allowed me to remember at a deep, fundamental level the things that are truly, truly important to me, which has allowed me to kind of let go of some of the things, not let go, but some of the things that stress me out on a daily basis, some of the things that stress a lot of people out on a daily basis. A lot of that, it can be financial, it can be relationship with other people, but it's allowed me to see those things for what they are and to be able to work through them with a sense and a knowing of everything is okay if those core fundamental values that you hold true to yourself, that are vitally important to you, are brought to your attention in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What about for you, Jaker?
I'm just going to pretty well echo what Josh said, but the big thing is remembering. So I think sometimes when people hear like the words or the phrase like psychedelic journey, they think that, and now I can't speak to all psychedelic journeys because there's lots of different ones you can do out in the world. And this one specific one that we have done is the only one that I've actually ever done for myself. So I can't speak on other ones. But my first experience with the high dose psychedelic journey was, it just brought a remembering of what's important and, where my values are aligned and the things that are important in my life based on my values. I wouldn't say that it didn't show me something that I didn't already know, which I think is really important for people is, on a day-to-day basis, when you're moving through life, if you actually like take a step back and think about what truly matters, if you're really stressed about, like Josh said, work or money or whatever the case may be, if you actually just try to remove yourself from that stressor and look at your life from a bird's eye view and say, okay, what's really important? Most people should be able to pinpoint what's important. And this journey for myself, and I've heard you guys talk about it as well, it just really, really, like in a strong way, helps you remember what's really important in life. And then I think moving forward from the experience, for the first like month, I would say, or like week or month, that remembering post experience is really strong. So it's not like, you're in the journey, you remember what's really important to you and you feel all these different ways. And then once the journey's done, you forget about it. I've found that it has actually really stuck with me. And I think if you have that short period of time where those things that are so truly important in just life in general is kind of at the forefront of your mind, it makes it easier to carry for the months, years after. And it actually will help. It can help you really set your values. And then from there, find alignment in your life as to what you're going to do to make sure you stay on track with those values. So for me, it was mostly just a remembering of what's important.
Yeah. And I know for me, like the reason I wanted you guys to do it and I wanted to do it with you is because I think you hear a lot of things, whether it's like social media or maybe books you read, where psychedelics, like, oh, I touched God consciousness, or I had this insane vision, and that's all fine and dandy. And that's a thing. But I think the ultimate value for me, I'm not speaking for anyone else, is that remembering. Because in the day-to-day stressors of life, it is so easy to have the mud cover and you just get into these really rigid thinking patterns and you forget why you're actually here. Mm-hmm. Or you forget the beauty of the things that are around you and the things that actually make your human experience amazing. And me and Josh were talking about that on the beach. It's like, when you hear people just go off on these tangents with psychedelics about touching this and touching that and feeling unity, that's beautiful. And those experiences can be beneficial for sure. But if it can just make your human experience more clear, make your values more set, and make you just enjoy this physical reality more, do you really need anything else out of that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, like you said, whatever the words you just used of like touching God or whatever, in my experience with the psychedelic journey, like I felt those things in a way that people talk about, but that wasn't like what I came out of the experience being like, wow, that was incredible. You know, it's like that remembering of what's truly important. And I think, you know, ever since we've done the protocol for the first time, I feel as though within our life, because for those of you listening, you probably know this, but us three are involved. We have businesses together. We live together. So we're always doing stuff together. And just since that first protocol, I've just felt that like all three of us have been more aligned as to what is most important in our life and for what we want to do as a whole, as a unit. And so when I look back on the psychedelic experience, that's what I'm like, wow, like that brought so much into my life. It wasn't, you know, feeling like or experiencing a completely different reality from the one that we're currently in. It's more about just being like, wow, like we have actually taken steps and done the work and done things that came to the forefront of our mind during the journey, in terms of our values, and we're actually doing them together. So
yeah. And I've also felt it's changed. When I say it's changed my life, you can also look at that from a very micro level, but I think it means a lot, which is like the interactions that I have with you guys, the interactions that we have with our parents. Like our parents are down here in Guatemala for a couple weeks, and just how much you value like when you're out for dinner with them and everybody has their health and like you're sitting around a table enjoying a meal, and the energy between us as a family is just so vibrant and it's so good. And
that's not all the time.
It's not all the time. No.
We still fucking.
Oh yeah, we've had multiple wrestling matches right here since.
Always. Yeah. So yeah, like, we don't want to paint a picture of perfect reality.
No, but I think it allows you to like appreciate those moments more, and not even just appreciate them, but acknowledge them.
Yeah.
Like acknowledge that this is incredible. This is what life is about. It's boundless love. And I feel that for you guys, and I feel that for my parents. And not that I haven't always felt that, but sometimes that can, you know, like get away from you a little bit. And so when I say it's changed my life, like I'm still me, I'm still Josh, I'm still the same guy that I was pre-journey in a lot of ways. It's just enhanced my awareness when I'm in those situations with you guys, with my parents, with my girlfriend, whatever it is. When I do feel like it's allowed me to feel a deeper sense of love. Again, not all the time, but there's been so many moments where haven't said it externally, but I've thought it internally and felt it internally, where I'm like, it doesn't feel different. It just feels enhanced.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm aware of it. It's because I'm aware of what I've been through, what you guys have been through, what we went through together as a family, and that we all felt that deep connection to like source love. We felt that so deeply, and we can connect through that.
Yeah.
Not even just verbally. It's just like a sense of knowing.
Yeah.
And it's comforting.
Super comforting. And I like what you said there about you're still you, like still working out, doing your breathing, reading, surfing, fucking around and watching a hockey game, talking shit and laughing. Like sometimes I feel people are hesitant when it comes to, which you should be when it comes to psychedelics, because there's a lot that goes into making sure that the experience is what it should be. But they think like, oh, am I just going to become this like weirdo that just is like lost in the ether and
wearing elephant pants and has nose rings?
Well, dude, I remember when you went and did ayahuasca with Mom. At that point, that was your and Mom's first real experience of a heavy dose psychedelic, and me and Jake hadn't done one yet. And I remember me and Jake speaking while you guys were away, being like, we knew you were still going to be you, but we were also like, dude, I wonder how this is going to change him, because we didn't know. Like we had no experience with it.
There are things that change because you do let go of parts of yourself that aren't serving you the way you should, or you, like you said, you have that overview where you can look at your life and be like, yeah, I don't really jive with that anymore. Why do I actually do that? So yes, it's going to change you and you will make changes, but you're still going to be you, and doing all the things every day that make you you are still the most important part of life.
Right.
Right. This is just enhancing your ability, like you said, to really clearly know what matters and feel something within you that's always there and that you're always connected to, that you're like, huh, okay, that's always there.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, one thing I was just going to say, I think I've heard you speak about it before too, but how important it is to have your values set in place prior to going into a psychedelic journey. Cause I think maybe sometimes that's where people can get lost, is like, you know, they're not treating their body and their mind the way that they should through movement, exposure to sunlight, being out in nature, drinking water, focusing on their sleep, focusing on some relationships in their life. So then they go into this psychedelic journey and they don't have that foundational, those like really strong foundational values in their life. So they have nothing to go back to. So they have this psychedelic journey and now it's kind of like floodgates are open.
Yeah.
So I think when you have really a strong foundation of how, to me, what it really comes down to is how you treat your mind and body, and intertwined in that is your relationships in your life. If you can find strength and stability in those things prior to going into a journey, when you come out of the journey, you're not going to not want to go back to them.
100%.
You're going to be like, I'm still that same person. Like, this is who I am, but maybe that journey just shed a little bit of light on something that I was forgetting about and I needed to remember.
Yeah. Well, Luker, you should expand on that, because I know you're massive proponent. It's not even being a proponent of it. It needs to be done, where you go through a psychedelic journey experience like that, but the work has just begun.
Yeah.
Right. Like, the work isn't over. That's just like opening the latch to being able to fulfill yourself and work on things. But maybe expand on that, like the importance of, like what Jake said. Yes, leading into the journey, you need to get your ducks in a row if they aren't already. But then also, you know, as you leave that journey and go back into your normal life, the work that you still need to do to make sure that the benefits and the remembering and all the good stuff that's come from that journey actually stays with you. You're able to grow with it. And then maybe the next time you journey, you're, you know, ahead of where you were leading into the last one.
Yeah, I think like anything, we would be complete frauds if we were sitting here being like, yeah, all you got to do is take a journey. It'll change your life. It's like any tool we have in our toolbox. It's a potent tool for change, but there's things leading up to it that need to be in place, and there's things post that need to be in place. So I would say, again, this is all anecdotal. I'm not a researcher. I'm not a PhD. I'm speaking from my experience and experience of people in my close proximity that have done these things. Is leading up to it, you got to quiet the internal noise. So eating healthy, making sure you're going to sleep at a good time, finding time to be out in nature, finding time to breathe or meditate 10, 20, 30 minutes. So preparing, like having reverence for what you're about to do, and respecting that it is a deep thing. Set and setting are huge as well. The set is, like I just talked about, you. So how are you going into the experience internally? And then the setting, like, are you just doing it in your basement with no intention, or are you treating it as something sacred, as you should be, and you're in a quiet environment where you feel safe, where you feel loved? And then afterwards, having at least a few days where you have to do absolutely nothing, but then also having months where you think back to the journey, you look at your journal, you think about the things that came up, you actively try to implement the things that you were shown you need to change, or shown the things that, if you were shown, hey, this is what really matters to me, then, okay, how do I now make sure that I'm living within my value structure so that every day I'm trying to do those things. And then one more thing, back to what you said, which a lot of people that I really respect, high-level scientists and just people that have sat through hundreds or thousands of journeys, it's important to have a strong ego before going into a really potent high-dose journey. So there's a strong ego and there's a big ego. A big ego is, I'm the fucking man, I drive a sick car. That's not what we're talking about. That would be a big ego. A strong ego is that, like, I know my place in the world. I have those foundational things set in place. I'm not living in pure chaos. Like, I have my life together to some extent. Because I think for me personally, the last thing you want to do is jump into something as potent as a high dose journey when your life is complete chaos.
Now,
You can have a part of your life that maybe isn't operating the way you'd like it to, and that's where you're hoping it will help you. But if it's in complete shambles, it's like, you know, you got to at least make your bed, eat a decent meal, and not be in constant fighting with the people in your environment before you,
right.
in my opinion.
So let's play devil's advocate then and say somebody listens to this podcast and they like what they hear and they value you as a person and the knowledge that you can bring, and they're curious about the protocol, and they come to you and they say, I've tried everything. I've been on antidepressants. I've been off of antidepressants. I've tried to eat healthy. I've tried to move my body. They go through the checklist, and what they tell you is that they have tried to do things to get their life in check, and they just feel hopeless. They feel lost. They hear this podcast and they go like,
that's different because they're trying.
Yeah, they're trying.
Yeah.
They're trying to implement. They're trying to do things. I'm just saying, if you're looking at it as you haven't tried anything, you haven't tried to go to the gym, you haven't tried to talk to a therapist, you haven't tried to eat better, you haven't went to a rehab center, and you're just looking at it like, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. I think that's completely irresponsible at an individual level. But I think on the other hand, if someone's really trying their fucking best and they just can't get through, then yeah, there are alternative things out there that I think research and anecdotal experience of people that have been doing this for years can say, yeah, there's hope.
right. And that could also be lead into the point of having guidance prior to the journey. Like you feel like you're in this situation where you've lost all hope and you don't know where to turn, but you see this light at the end of the tunnel, which could be ayahuasca, the higher protocol, whatever it is, to find somebody that's able to work with you pre-ceremony and post-ceremony is huge, because a lot of people, we experience it all the time at the gym. And this is a simple example, but somebody says, yeah, I've tried eating healthy. I've tried exercising. I've tried these things and it's not working. And then you dive a little deeper. You get them to make a food log. You get them to track their meals. And they're like, see, look, like, what did I tell you? I'm eating healthy. But then you take a look at it. You have a trained eye. You're educated. You know what you're looking for. And you go, okay, this person thinks what they're doing is what they need to do. And it's to no fault of their own. I don't expect everybody to be insanely educated. Like, the fact that they're trying to better themselves is a massive step in the right direction. But that shows the importance of finding somebody, a high level person that has experience and that has knowledge, to help guide you into a place where maybe there's a few other tricks that you haven't tried.
And that's all. That also comes down to putting in the work, though, because not everybody can afford a high level coach to help them one-on-one, right? So put in the work, and like, through this podcast, look at who we follow, and oh, this person looks really cool. I really like their message, and like, put in the work to find people. There's so much free information out on the internet that you can access from very, very high level people, whether it's the fitness realm or the nutrition realm or meditation, stress resilience, whatever it is. But I think that just also comes down to like putting in the work.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it back to what Josh said, though, because I think that's crucially important is if someone calls themselves a shaman, probably run away, because when you actually learn what it takes to be a shaman, it's like 10 years of training in a fucking Amazonian jungle. But there are hundreds or thousands of people out there that are good guides. And all that means is that there are people that are trained, that are very high level, that if you're going to go and have a psychedelic experience, they can work with you beforehand and they can work with you after. And my thing would be, for anyone that's listening to this or thinking in 2025 or 2026 that they want to dip their toes into the realm of trying a psychedelic, to one, maybe try and work through something that's really hurting you, or two, just like Jake and Josh said, to make your life more clear and just have less internal friction. Spend the money on going to a very good high level place to do the experience, and also spend the money on working with someone beforehand and working with someone after. Because if you just go and you have this really profound experience and you don't have someone to help ground you back into real life and the patterns that are actually going to facilitate long-term change, I think it can actually be detrimental to people.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not speaking from a professional standpoint. I'm speaking from a standpoint of my own experience and people that I love who have done it, and seeing who's gotten good result and who hasn't, based on, did they put in the work prior? Did they put in the work after? Or did they just go open the doors of perception? And
Because at the end of the day, if somebody asked me like, what's going to be the more powerful tool, working on myself and getting my daily patterns in check, or doing the heart protocol, it's not even close. Like, you need to work on yourself. You need to do the things that you know you need to do, that the human body needs to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We've mentioned them 1,000 times. I'm not going to list them off. Everybody knows. But it's an undeniable truth that you need to work on those things first, because I think if you work on all those aspects of your life, there's a better chance that you're going to be able to lead or lean into that experience from a more like grounded, heart-centered place.
Fuck yeah. And I like to use, when I've talked to people about it, like, if you want to run a marathon, you don't just sign up for the New York Marathon, show up that day and run it. You train for 3-4 months prior to. You start running 5 kilometers. So maybe you start meditating 5 minutes one day and just drinking water. And then a month later, you're meditating 10 minutes and you're just drinking water and you're eating organic food. Like, you're progressively earning the experience. Because I think if you go into something like a high dose journey and you've done nothing to earn that experience, like Josh said, coming out of it is not or even going into it, you're not going to have that grounded, clear energy that can really help facilitate a beautiful experience. So anyone that pushes a narrative of like, yeah, just go do it, I think that's bullshit. I think you should work to earn it as you would any other thing in life that is novel.
Yeah. I mean, think of anything that's been truly important to you, at least in the moment, whether it was like you're an athlete and you're in the championship game, or you're in university and you have a massive midterm or a massive final. Chances are, if you were successful, you probably prepared.
Yeah.
Right? Like, nobody goes into a calculus final unless they're a complete fucking genius and goes, yeah, didn't look at a thing, and ace it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that comes down to, is it truly important to you, and are you going into it with the right intention? Because I think if you're going into any experience that means a lot to you with the right intention, you're going to be more than willing to try to be as prepared as you possibly can be leading into it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe we'll leave it at that, boys.
I got one more.
One more.
Because I wanted to throw
Closing
this
thought.
out. The closing thought. In the last journey that I did, something that I was shown, which again, it's nothing overly profound, but when I actually sat back and thought about it, I was like, fuck me. And it was just showing me, like, it was you two, it was our family, it was a few friends, and everyone was just melting away, gone, gone, gone. And it made me think afterwards, my perception of that was, even if reincarnation is real, or we go to another dimension, or things that people think about, this physical human experience where I know you guys, and I'm your brother, and I'm mom and dad's son, and I'm Corey's friend, and I get to surf, and I get to build a gym in Guatemala, it may never happen again.
Yeah.
So whatever your belief system might be, this fucking experience you're currently having more than likely isn't on repeat.
Yeah. So do everything you can to enjoy every minute of it and prepare yourself for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Fucking right, boys. The Primitive Patterns Podcast. It's time to live your mystery.